My name is Derry Mullins, and I'm from the Western North Carolina area. I was born and raised here, moved away and came back, and was raising my family here. We hit a rough spot where I was only working part-time and my ex-husband was not working, and got behind with our rent, utilities, everything was way behind. And we were fixing to literally be homeless. We would either going to have to relocate with family, or we didn't have any family in the area, so we had nowhere to go here, and didn't want to do that to my children. And through some people at social services actually found out about Homeward Bound and contacted them and told them what was going on, and they made it very, very easy, just to fill out some paperwork, get the information they needed about what was going on with me and my family, and then they were able to help us. And so they got my rent caught up and took care of the utilities at that time, and were able to just keep us in housing. And so that was very, very helpful to us, and they enabled us to stay here and keep my children where they had grown up. I guess giving us a roof over our head and taking care of those necessities was the obvious benefit. But more than that, it was just good to know that there was somebody that cared. Because going through a crisis situation that you're not accustomed to, you don't usually expect to find yourself in that type of situation, and having no family in the area, I didn't have a support network. So having them there and just seeing them work on my behalf and my family's behalf was very important, and that's why I wanted to come and share with you today what they had done for me and my family, and it's made such a difference. I honestly can say that we would not be here in Western North Carolina if it had not been for them. I actually work in sales and marketing for Sinorama of Asheville, and so now I'm able to have a safe place for my girls and take care of the things that I need to take care of. So just that little push up that they gave me at a crisis time in my life was very helpful. And so then we started crawling and walking and getting to the point now where my daughters actually are like, wow, we've got money to do that. So just that little bridge to get over that tough spot was what they provided. And that's why whenever I get a chance to share with people how important Homeward Bound is and what they're doing, and my case is, may not seem normal, but I would say it probably happens more than people realize, that there are times that people need that bridge. Either they can't make their payments and they have nowhere to go and they need some help, or it may be a situation where someone's been chronically homeless and they just need a support network. And the success rate that Homeward Bound has, and just the support network that they have is very, very impressive, and I think we're fortunate to have them in Western North Carolina. I think that's fantastic. I think branching out to the other counties will just help them and help more people that are in my situation where it's a temporary crisis, as well as reach out to those that are more chronically homeless, and just extending their outreach is always going to be beneficial because they are such a successful organization and have been for many years.
My name's Emily Ball, and I'm the Director of Community Engagement for Homeward Bound of Western North Carolina. Homeward Bound, we really believe that people only become homeless for one reason, and that's because they don't have enough support in a crisis. So when we think about homelessness, we often think about mental illness or addiction or unemployment, disability, things like that, and those are true characteristics of folks who become homeless, but they're also characteristics of folks who never lose their housing. And the difference is that if you have that support system around you, when that crisis occurs, you don't have to lose your housing, and without it, it's easy to end up on the streets. When homelessness first really emerged in our country, we used a model called the Housing Readiness Model, and that that was the belief that if folks, if we can keep them alive with shelter and food and clothing, then they can get themselves back into permanent housing. And that model just hasn't worked very well. It's really difficult to do those things while you don't have any stability at all, while you don't know where you're going to sleep tonight or where your next meal is going to come from. And so in the 90s, a new model was developed called the Housing First model. And it says, you know what, the opposite of homelessness is a home. And so let's get you into housing first, and then let's work on all of these other issues that are barriers to you staying in housing. And that model has really revolutionized everything around homeless services in the United States. Since we began doing permanent housing work in 2006 and using that Housing First model where we facilitate entry into housing for folks, we pay their rent, pay their utilities initially, and then we also offer case management support that helps bring together a lot of other community resources to help them work on things like mental health, sobriety, employment. Since we began doing that work in 2006, we have housed hundreds of people, and of those, 89% of our clients have not become homeless again. So that's the reason this work is really exciting, because it's a real solution to the problem. Homeward Bound has been around since 1988 in Buncombe County, and we have done homeless services there for a long time. We used to operate that old model of of shelter and transitional housing, and then in 2006 we started doing permanent housing instead in response to learning about the Housing First model. We have only operated in Buncombe County, but we have just recently expanded into Henderson County, and in January of 2013 we housed our first person in Henderson County. Henderson County has been certainly providing important services to folks who are homeless there, but has not been doing that permanent housing work and not had an agency that used that Housing First model. So we're really excited to be able to do that in Henderson County and to be able to partner with the agencies who've been providing those services already. We absolutely believe that homelessness is a community-wide problem that impacts all of us, whether we have housing or not. It's a public health problem. It's an economic problem. We live in a tourism-driven area. Homelessness is not great for tourism. It's a problem for our whole community, and so that means it requires a community-wide solution. And we absolutely believe that there's a way for every single community member to be part of that solution in Henderson County. Specifically, some opportunities to partner with us in that are, number one, we need landlords to work with us on housing. The way that our housing program works is that we use grant funding to pay for that housing until folks are able to take over those payments themselves. And so we need landlords who are willing to partner with us in that work. Number two, we need donations of furniture and housewares to support our clients as they're moving into housing. So what we don't ever want to do is put someone in an empty apartment and then walk away. We want to be sure that they have what they need to live in housing. Number three, the reality is that it costs money to end homelessness. As taxpayers, we are going to pay for these services either way. We can either spend a lot of money to keep people homeless. It's actually more expensive for folks to be homeless because they go to the emergency room often for medical care. They go to jail often for things like sleeping in the wrong place. And they stay in shelters, and all of those are expensive public resources. If instead we pay for their housing and support, it actually costs us less as a community to go ahead and solve that problem. So the third thing that we need is real financial investment from the community so that we're really supporting the solution instead of just supporting the patch.
Thank you.